I've talked often about how important networking is for your career, your business, and your life. But as an introvert, this is not something that comes naturally to me. It's something that I have to be very intentional about working at. Today, I'm going to share with you what I've learned so that you too can be successful with your networking, whether you're an introvert or not. Welcome to the Stay-at-Home Nurse Podcast. I'm your host, Deanna Cooper Gillingham. For over 25 years, I've strived to use my nurse credentials to find work that fit my lifestyle, whether it was raising my 4 children and 3 fur babies, traveling the world, or moving to Mexico and living on the Caribbean Sea. Sometimes I succeeded, and sometimes I failed, but I always learned from the experience. Now, I want to help you by sharing what worked and what didn't work. There are so many opportunities out there for nurses today. The Stay-at-Home Nurse Podcast will inspire and equip you to have a nursing career that is meaningful and supports your lifestyle. Now let's get started. When given the choice, my default is to curl up on the couch and listen to a book or podcast. Getting out takes effort, including going to the pool, beach, or kayaking. All things that I love. Don't get me wrong, I love to be with my people, my family, my friends, my colleagues, but I much prefer them coming to me, even though I'm not much of an entertainer. When you come to my house for the first time, I'm going to show you where the fridge is, where the glasses are, and tell you to help yourself and make yourself at home. And I mean it. But I'm not comfortable in other people's home making myself at home. I don't know why, that's just the way I am. But I digress. I knew to be successful in building and growing a business, I needed to get out of my comfort zone. I needed to meet people who were doing what I wanted to do. I needed to talk to them and see that they weren't larger than life, but just normal people like me. And if they could do it, I could do it. I knew I had to attend conferences. I also knew that for this to be successful, and not just a waste of my time and money, I would not be able to just attend the sessions and then go to my room and veg and recharge. So I prepared ahead of time. I attended an online first-time attendee meet and greet. This allowed me to get familiar with the people that would be attending, some other first-time attendees and their names so that I would know who to go up to and who was a first-timer, and also just get a general idea of what to expect so that I was more comfortable walking in. One of the things that was recommended during that meet and greet was to not eat alone. They said that they were a friendly bunch and that we should ask the host or hostess if there was anybody else there for the event that we could eat with. Since I didn't know anybody else that was going to be there, I really liked this idea, and I decided I would not eat alone, even if that meant putting myself out there and inviting myself to join others. For some of you, this may sound easy, but trust me, for an introvert, it is very hard, almost like climbing Mount Everest. So I went to my very first conference. It was an online business conference for online entrepreneurs. I learned so much. I went myself knowing absolutely no one. I attended every one of the sessions, and of course I had to sit by people that I did not know because I went knowing no one. So I made myself introduce myself to everybody that I sat next to. I made myself invite myself to join others during breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I attended the parties and the social functions that they had after the actual conferences each day. I thought I was doing great. Then, on the last day, I was asked where had I been. I was told that all the magic happens at the bar after hours, after all the official events have been closed. I made the decision there and then that I would attend the conference again, and this time, I would go to the bar after hours and see where all the magic was happening. I made great friends at that event, and we continued to connect weekly and just check on each other's progress. That fall, I went back to the conference again, and that's where I met Abby, my business partner. Remember how I said I promised myself that I would go to the bar and see where all the magic was happening, as I was told? Well, I didn't want to go sit at the bar alone. So I started asking people, hey, will you go to the bar with me? I heard that's where all the magic happens afterwards. And I had people that said yes, they would. And then they were like, oh, I'm too tired. I don't want to go. Why don't you go with so-and-so? And this kept happening until somebody said, I don't want to go. I'm too tired, but why don't you go with Abby? So I did. And I ended up with a business and a life partner. I saw the amazing results I got. So I made the commitment to attend more live events. Next, I went to CMSA. That's the Case Management Society of America. My mentor, Anne, strongly encouraged me to attend CMSA National. We had only talked via email and phone up until that point and had not met in person. I had had surgery and was non-weight bearing on my foot, so I wanted to wait until the following year. But Anne told me that she would be in a little scooter because she also had some problems with her ambulation and that I should join and we could be scooter buddies. So as much as I was looking for every excuse not to do it, I did. I flew out to California and I attended my first CMSA conference. I had a scooter, and yes, me and Ann became scooter buddies. That conference also was very beneficial for me. Before I went, I was very intentional. I took a couple of my books, and I said every day I had to hand out at least 2 books, and I could not come home with any books left over. I also did the same thing where I could not eat alone, and I would have to introduce myself to everybody that I was sitting next to. I made a lot of great connections at that conference, and I still talk to many of them now. As much as I'm an introvert, Anne is an extrovert. She can talk to anybody. So she was my new conference buddy. I would hang around with her, and she would introduce me to everybody interesting that she met. It really worked out well for me. At subsequent conferences, I would just watch her work a room and try to pick up tips on how I could do the same. I'm not anywhere near her level yet because it's not something that comes naturally to me, but I do challenge myself each time I go out to be more like Anne. Once I got comfortable attending these events, I had the opportunity to grow even more. I had the opportunity to host my own case manager's cruise. Now this, again, was way out of my comfort zone. I was just getting comfortable attending conferences. How was I going to hold my own conference? But it sounded like a good idea at the time. So once the reality hit that I was going to be expected to be the host and be very extroverted and go out to people, I realized that this was not 100% something that I could do. So I brought extroverts with me. My business partner, Abby, is an extrovert. I brought him, I brought Anne, and I brought other extroverts that I knew to be speakers and help coordinate the event. This was great. I was still way out of my comfort zone, but at least I had backup. If you're listening to this around the time it's recorded, then you're aware we are currently in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm unable to attend live events. However, the connections I made at those live events are still my connections. We have met over Zoom, texted, emailed, and had phone calls. The seeds I planted by attending the events have taken root and are flourishing, even during a pandemic. I, for one, will be excited to go back to live events. In the meantime, I'm continuing the relationships I started and creating new ones via Zoom and other virtual platforms. So I want to leave you with a few takeaways. These examples are all based on going to live events because these were the furthest out of my comfort zone. There are many other small, daily, and weekly challenges that I have to overcome, but starting off with something so hugely uncomfortable made the small things easier. To make quick and massive progress, you have to push yourself far beyond your comfort zone. Yes, you can take baby steps, but your progress will be small, and I'm too old for small progress. And that's a wrap for this week's episode. I'd love to continue the conversation with you on social media. If you're on Clubhouse, make sure you're following me at D. Gillingham. You can also find me on Instagram at The Stay-at-Home Nurse. And I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn under Deanna Cooper Gillingham. In addition, we have a Facebook group, The Stay-at-Home Nurse Podcast. Make sure you've joined. And one last thing. This is my birthday month. I would be so honored if you would leave a rating and review to celebrate my birthday. That would be a wonderful gift for me. Okay, until next week, Adios from beautiful Puerto Aventuras, Mexico.